G'day. So today I'm doing a full service. I'm doing a fluid change and an oil change. I'm changing my oil from a 540 to a 1560. And the 60 is just 10% extra zinc. Reason being is because the car's using oil. I'm not leaking oil, so therefore I'm burning oil, and I've got worn rings. So, it's high mileage. It's 460,000 Ks. The engine's never given me grief, but I've just noticed that I'm using oil now, so it's time to thicken up the oil. And I'm going to use the seal expander. I do every single time. There's only just enough in here for one more job left to go. And I'm going to put this in, but see, it says 100. It says on the back to add 50 to 100 ml per litre. That's basically 250 ml or half a litre to every 5 litres. So I'm just going to put this in now. My question is, how thick is this oil? Because I'm wanting to put thicker oil in my car, and is this thinning down my oil? So that's a question I'll ask Peter, I think. Anyway, that's what I'm going to put it in, and you saw how easily that poured. Now I'll put in the pen right, just so you can see how that pours in. And as you can see, that's thicker. Okay, so I'm going to get the oil in. I've already drained the oil and change the filter, so I've got to put oil in the engine now, because you can see over there. Now I normally have hoses and other pipes for this type of job, but just finding what I can to get this job done. I've removed the thermostat because I'm going to do a full flush on the system with just clear water, and then I'm going to drain that out, removing the bottom radiator hose as well, and putting in the liquid intelligence. And so after an oil change today and a coolant change, I should be good to go. I'm not going to be making a full clip of how to do this and how to do that. I'm just letting you know what I'm up to, just to giving the car another service. I apologise for not being fully detailed about every clip I do. If you're wondering why I'm using liquid intelligence, I do every job, and in doing so I haven't had any problems with oil leaks or anything like that, so I just keep doing it as a regular change. But I do want to know, now that I've changed to a thicker oil, am I actually doing damage to this by putting this in? Because is this, like a 530 or something like that, and I'm putting in a 1560? Am I thinning down the oil and killing the purpose of putting in a thicker oil? So I need to check that out with Peter. It's something I would like to know. There's no writings on here to say what it is, just about it and how to use it, but maybe on the website I'll check that out.
How does it work? Liquid Intelligence 230 has been used effectively on both early and late model vehicles to rejuvenate all sorts of rubber seals and gaskets. An excessive oil leak from a seal would indicate that it is gouged, cracked, or mechanically unsound. But if your vehicle or equipment is only dropping a few spots, or a small puddle of oil on the ground every time it's used, and nothing more until it's used again, then that would normally indicate that the seal has lost a bit of structural integrity. All nitrile, polyacrylate, and isoprene elastomers engine seals and gaskets are subject to deterioration, cracking, and leakage over time. All seals and gaskets will eventually shrink and subsequently leak as they age and deplete. But only a small proportion of the seal's unstable chemical composition diminishes, most of which are generically called VOCs, volatile organic compounds. As these compounds are slowly lost, the seal's volume, structural integrity, and elasticity are reduced, causing a lessening in its sealing mechanical properties. The Liquid Intelligence 230 works by returning some of those volatile compounds back into the seal via infusion. The infusion process will produce a slight swelling of the seal. But that swelling is only a consequence of the total rejuvenation process, which encompasses the enhanced flexibility of its hardness, compression rate, and tensile properties. Liquid Intelligence 230 is recommended to be used in the transmissions, transfer boxes, engines, differentials, and power steering units. It will rejuvenate dried and hardened Buna N, polyacrylate, neoprene rubber, styrene butadiene rubber, FKM, Viton, NBR, nitrile, and polyacrylonitrile oil seals, which incorporates most of the rubber seals ever used in automotive, industrial, and hydraulic applications. It is also recommended to be used on leaking timing chain covers where alkyl resin modified oil-based caulking compound or a silicone RTV rubber sealant has been used. And if your seals are not mechanically unsound but just dried and hard, then there is every chance it will eliminate the leak. Whilst this type of seal repair is not an exact science, most people that use the 230 can expect the seal to stay rejuvenated for about 2 years, but this can vary depending on the seal composition and condition. Liquid Intelligence 230 is best used at 100 mls per liter of oil, but can also be effective at lower concentrations. Application ratio: Liquid Intelligence 230 can be used at 50 mls per 1 liter of oil, up to 100 mls per 1 liter of oil. No chlorides or solvents, made from pure phosphate ester, phenols and non-chlorinated and non-petroleum synergistic elements in a paraffin carrier. Will not affect clutch plate linings.
Okay, I've got 4 litres oil in there now, plus the Liquid Intelligence. I'm going to let this flush out for a while, and then I'm going to give the car a run for a short time. We're still doing that because I need the oil to mix up. It's showing on the dipstick that I'm just below the perfect mark on full, but once the car's ran and the oil filters ran oil through it and so forth, it's going to become a bit darker, easier to read on the dipstick, and then I'll know if I need to add any more. So I've already been flushing this out, so it's not as green as it was before. And it's leaking down there, but I've only got primitive tools today, so make do with what I got. I just want to flush this system right out. I should mention, I did drop the bottom hose first and drain out all the coolant I could and bottle it. It's already gone to the recycle center. I had someone take that for me, so I wasn't able to capture that. But make sure you do that first before doing what I'm doing right now. I can't help but what coolant was not removed from the system not be bottled. That's just the way it is. So, you know, yeah, just have to deal with that part. But so far so good. I flushed through the reservoir and I'm about to go through the top here, start the car while it's running so I can have the hose running, get some water and any other coolant that might be stuck in there, flush that out as well. Okay, just short spurts. I don't want the engine to get hot, and I'm adding constantly cold water. So I'm just going to let this run for a couple of minutes, not too long, 2 or 3 minutes. I'll start the car again for about 30 seconds, turn it off. I'll do that 2 or 3 times and then I'll be happy with that, and we can drain that out and put the new coolant in. Right, well, that's looking pretty good. Looking in the reservoir there, that's full of water, that's nice and clean. I've put the radiator hose and everything back on, so the system's running full flush through itself, just no thermostat, so it's got the full cyclone effect happening, just pumping water right through it. And she's nice and clean now, so now I can drop that bottom hose again, get all that water out, and we'll put some coolant in. Before doing that though, I'm going to take the reservoir off, get some rice in it, give it a shake around and give it a good clean first so it's all nice and clean inside again. Right, before I put these hoses back on, I just wanted to show you this. See, in here I've got copper piping. Now I saw these brake ones before on a different car and I thought back then I better do something about that before mine break. And it was a good 10 years ago when I did mine. Put some copper piping in there just to make sure that I'd never have a problem there, and I'm glad I did, because I now see after cleaning it, it's hard for me to see this because I've got the sun on the screen, there's a crack there now, so the copper pipe has saved me from breaking down or having to replace that reservoir. So it's a good idea if you haven't already. If you want, if it's a real tight fit, get some boiling hot water onto these connections first, make the plastic soft and then tap them in, and that'll give a good seal. And if there's any grains of rice left in your reservoir, it's not going to hurt the system, it's just going to soften up and go through the system. But 99% of the rice is out of there, if not all of it. Just keep in mind that if you get any water on any connections, just to give them a spray of WD-40 or something. I use Enox, but each to their own. Okay, not something I normally do, but the bleeder on this is just this little piece here, and I'm going to put coolant in the system now, so I'm just going to fill it up until I see it in here, and then I'm going to put this on so that way I know that all the air in the system's shifted up to the top there, put the thermostat in, and let that last bit of air bleed out, squeeze the lines and so forth. You know the drill. What would be nice if that thing had a tap on it. Anyway, do it the slow way. It's a nice green, isn't it? A really thick green. Basically, this is how I've got to do the whole thing. Well, you can see now that's coming out from here, and that's basically clear. So that shows you how much water is still in the system before you start putting fluid in. I've got 6 litres in there before it started coming out of here, and I might just pour a little bit more in, try and get some of that clear stuff out, just to try and reduce the mix of fresh water with the coolant. Okay, well that's another litre into the system, so it's 7 litres now, and that's a better looking colour there. You can still see that it's clear mixing with the coolant, but I'm not going to go any further than that. I'll put the thermostat in now, close it up and top the system up. It's now saying that I've got no coolant when I've got perfect level, so I'm going to take that sensor out. I'm going to remove this line here, get a Coke bottle or something that I can find in a minute, let that drain in so the reservoir empties enough so I can get this sensor out and have a look at if I can repair it. Okay, you can see that's emptying now. That's the reason why I picked this line, because it's lower in the radiator. So that's going to empty enough for me to get to that sensor. And I said Coke bottle, and it's kind of ironic that I don't drink soft drink. So milk bottle will do. Now that's low enough for me to get that sensor out. I'll just let that stay in there like that while I play with the sensor. Now getting the sensor out, let's see if I can stabilise myself here a bit. Getting the sensor out, all I did was get a screwdriver, tap it in the corner there, and get this turning. Now it turns relatively easy. I can get this out. The same way, I'll put it in the same way, get it in as tight as I can by hand, and then I'll just give it a tap with a screwdriver. I better unplug that. Bit tricky with one hand. I just want to show you. Just going to work at it like that. It comes out. I'll give you a look. Okay, so the whole thing fell apart in my hand as I took it out. The plastic in the end here broke off. The circuit board came out. The rubber seal here looks like it needs a new one. But I'm going to try and repair this. Well, I am going to repair this. My hardest part will be finding a seal. Repairing that part is the easy part. Now this is just a couple of resistors, and it activates the magnetic sensor, which works still. What I'll do is I'll get some plastic weld, fill it in there, slide this in. It'll be a better fix than it was manufactured. It's just that rubber seal. I don't know what I'm going to do there. Maybe just use a rubber washer and see if I can get away with that. Well, I did something real bright. I'm going to repair this because I couldn't find one at the local auto shop to buy one. And I was trying to just tie it off here, arced out against the positive, and I busted it, so I'm going to have to solder a wire there. No big deal, it's just extra work I didn't really need. Okay, so I've got this all fixed up, and I've put in metal weld in there. It's kind of like JB weld. And I've made sure that there's no air leaks, so the circuitry inside can never get wet. Now, I couldn't get a replacement one, nor could I get a replacement rubber. So what I'm going to do, I've got an O-ring. I'm going to put over the top of that. And that's the sensor is going to help keep that center. When I put that in, that should be enough to allow the pressure. It does go on properly. I'm just trying to do it with one hand while I'm recording. So that's going to be on. That's going to help center it, squeeze it on, and that should do the job quite fine. Okay, so you can see it looks like that before I put it back on, and you can see the repair there of the JB weld. So should be good for another 20 years. Righto, you can see the sensor light is on right now. I'll just go to the engine bay and I'll flip the switch the other way, the sensor the other way, so you can see it. Now the sensor light is off, so that's working. Now I just need to glue it back into place. Yeah, I forgot to mention I used the rubber glove just to put it in the hole there for now. Obviously that wouldn't hold forever, but it's good enough to block a hole so I could run the test, because that sensor light doesn't go off unless the engine is running. So I had to block this off so coolant wouldn't go everywhere while I was doing a test on the sensor. And I keep forgetting to mention, I normally use a screwdriver for this, but I found long nose pliers does a much better job. I can get it into those sections there and you can tighten it up real good. So if it was going to leak, it was going to do so now, and it all looks good. But I'll leave in the comments if it does start to leak, and probably make another video about fixing it if it does. Anyway, this ended up being a longer video than intended. It was only supposed to be a quick showing you that I'm servicing the car today, you know, keeping up with maintenance, and it turned out to be a sensor repair. Alright, anyway, till next time guys, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.